Welcome back, and now we're ready to add in some code. So what I've done already, that I've set up some of the images because this is going to be a very visual project. So I've created 6 different images, and this is also depending on what size of game board you're going to be needing. We're going to be creating a game board that's going to be 3x4 or 4x3, so that's going to give us 12 tiles because for each one it's going to be matching pairs, so that's why we need 6. And then we also need a background image for our tiles so that when they're not flipped over, this is what you're going to see when you click it. It's going to flip over and it's going to show the various tiles. So these are the images that we need, and you can feel free to use your own images as well. So these are going to be the default images. I'll include them within the resources of this course so that you can download these and you can use these. These I simply created using Photoshop, and these are some basic Photoshop shapes that were available. So that's all I've done here, and I've made them nice and colorful. So I've created a folder called images, and these are basically the images that we're going to use within this game because we definitely need images for a memory game. And we can see that it's linked here, so I'm using a folder called cards. I've got my index.html here, and I've got my folder with all of my images in here. So nice and easy that I can link to those. So what I wanted to do first is I want to pull those images into my JavaScript application, and I'm going to use an array in order to do that. So we'll just call it tile images, and let's link out to all of the images and just go back quickly and see that I've just given them number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we can simply load those images in. We can also do a loop as well. So if we wanted to, let's actually do it that way where we're going to create it via a loop. So we'll create all of those images dynamically and load them into our array. So we'll do a quick loop here, and we're going to do for variable x, and I love using x for these loops. And we're going to loop while x is less than 7. And then just increment x by 1. And then this is the content of the loop. So we can simply push it into the tiles array. So this is a built-in JavaScript method to add content into the images. And then lastly, let's console log out all of what we've got within our array. So usually it's best to try to make things as dynamic as possible because the more dynamic you can make your applications, the easier it is to work with, and especially when things change, that you have the ability to be more flexible. So let's set that up, and I'm not sure why when I tabbed it, it pushed me that far over, but let's go ahead and we'll push the content of these images into our array. And in order to do that, so we know that we're starting out variable x equals, so we're going to equal x to 1, and we're going to continue to loop through while it's less than 7. So that should load in all of the 6 images. So let's set that up. So it's going to be the value of x plus JPEG. And now let's see how that works out within the console when we refresh the console, going out to your browser. And what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to pop this out so that I can have it separated out of my web page. And I've also got a little trick here where I've got an add-on extension so I can use my window as a pop-out window. So that gets rid of all of that stuff there at the top. So I'm going to reset it here so that we can have our code on one end and we can have what's happening, what the output is on the other end. So we'll just create some windows, restructure the output here so that we can see the pop-out content as well as our source code. So to compare, and then we can also do a line by line to see exactly what's happening within our console. So let's refresh the page, and we see that now we've got all of the images are loaded in. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All the images get loaded in. So that's how we created our array using the array method push, also using a loop in order to loop through all the items. And this way, because it's dynamic, you can really easily grab in any one of the images and you can, if you needed to add additional images, so let's say you made your game board to have 10 images, so 20 tiles, you can really easily do this by adding an additional set of images, calling them 7, 8, 9, and 10, and then looping it while it's less than 11. So now go ahead, open up your editor, try this out for yourself. First, declare the array, so you can just create a blank array there and then loop through all of the images. Also, make sure that your images are named 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because otherwise this won't work. Or if you've got a name for the images, so maybe you've called them image 1 or image 2, so you can really easily update this, and then if you refresh it, now we've got image 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So make sure that all of your images are loading into your array, and then you can also change the way that the naming convention if needed, and then just make sure that the correct paths are there within the console, and you're ready to move on to the next step, where we're going to grab some of these elements from the HTML and we're going to actually be able to see something being output. So that's coming up in the next lesson.